Make sure the unit is in place on level ground. Shut off the main water supply and relieve the pressure at a sink or garden spigot. On the top of the bypass valve, there are arrows molded into the plastic bypass that show the direction of flow. The arrow pointing toward the unit will be the inlet. The arrow pointing away from the unit will be the outlet connection. Be sure you connect the unit to the system properly. Make sure the bypass valves are in the bypass position. When the bypass valves are in the bypass mode, the bypass valve handles will bisect the plumbing lines. The bypass valve will have 3/4 MPT threads. The softener is shipped with straight and elbow connectors. Use whatever connectors make the most sense when you plumb your softener in. Remove the red clips from the bypass valve and insert the selected fittings. Then reinstall the red clips to hold the fittings in place. If copper pipe is used, make sure the solder joints close to the bypass valve are made prior to connecting the pipe to the valve. There should be 8 to 12 inches of piping in place before additional solder joints are made. Excessive heat created by soldering process could damage the valve. When the piping is attached and the unit is in bypass, turn on the water supply and check for leaks at the plumbing and bypass. If there are leaks, repair them now. If you don't have any leaks, we can move to the next step. Next, we will be connecting the brine line to the salt tank. On the side of the control valve, there's a 3/8 quick connect fitting that is used to connect the brine tank. Remove the lock clip on the quick connect fitting and push the supplied 3/8 tubing into the fitting. Make sure the tube is pushed all the way in the fitting. Once the tube is fully in the quick connect fitting, reinstall the lock clip on the quick connect fitting. Now you need to connect the brine line to the brine tank. Take the lid off the brine tank and then take the cap off the white tube inside the brine tank. Inside the white tube, there is an elbow connection for 3/8 tubing. Remove the nut, push the tubing into the hole in the side of the brine tank, put the nut over the tubing and attach it to the elbow fitting on the brine safety valve. Tighten the nut hand tight and use pliers to turn it an additional half turn. It is important that this line is securely tightened. If there is ever a high level of water in the brine tank, this line being loose would be the first thing to check. Put the cap back on the white tube, and now the brine tank is connected. Lastly, you will hook up the drain line to the control valve at the drain elbow. You can use the hose barb fitting on the valve with a clamp to connect the drain line. This is a 5/8 inch tubing and it can be purchased on our website under softener parts. Be sure the clamp is tight. The drain can be installed overhead to a standpipe or to a floor drain. Make sure the drain line is secured because it will drain with force and will be under pressure. Now fill the brine tank with salt. If you don't want to fill it, you should at least pour 4 50-pound bags in. You will want to make sure that it's 99.8% pure solar salt and preferably extra coarse grade and not pellets. Your brine tank is full when it is 3 inches below the top of the white tube in the brine tank. A side note to this, do not keep the brine tank full of salt. In other words, do not continually top it off. Fill it and then let it run down to where you can see the water. This could be several months or nearly a year depending upon your water quality and the amount used. This will ensure that the salt will be used regularly and will not form a solid block which water cannot pass through. Your system is now installed and ready for the internal settings to be programmed.